folks, you are watching Fanatics and the Fan. Of course, I am Huck, and once again, we are having a Meet the Fanatics video. I am happy to bring back to the arena one of my most controversial, troublemaking Fanatics. Probably my favorite bodyguard, though. Please welcome back to the show, Miss Toni Globis. How are you, dear?
Hi, hello, how are you?
It is so good to see you.
Oh, thank you. It's good to see you. Check out this shirt. Look at it. It's because I'm in a time machine. It has a steering wheel.
So let's see. I do this with all my Fanatics every week, and I'm gonna see if I can't remember all of your stuff, because yours is as extensive as any other Fanatic I have. We know you're a cosplayer.
Yeah.
You are a gamer, both tabletop and video game.
Yeah.
You're a book fanatic.
Yeah.
Movie fanatic.
Yeah.
Music fanatic, tech fanatic, and comic book fanatic.
Yes.
I think I got it all.
All of those things.
I mean, you are as eclectic as a nerd can be when it comes to.
I am. I love Hello Kitty. I love horror movies. I love princesses, and I think that most superheroes are badasses. So if there's a way that I could dress up as a Hello Kitty princess who kills people and plays with Legos, it'd be perfect.
Okay, so let me start in my direction, because my earliest remembrance of you was as a costumer, and your costumes were better than a lot that I've seen out there.
Oh my God, and they should have been, because whew.
And it's not even just that they were better, because I know it's a terrible word when it comes to cosplay. Everybody's cosplay is wonderful.
It is.
But the craftsmanship, and even to go so far as to say you could see the amount of effort put into your work.
Yeah.
How did you go about, first of all, how did that all start? Because yours was so much different than what I was usually used to seeing at your
right.
convention. So how did all that come about?
So at a young age, my dad, so there's a couple of things. We'll start with my dad first. So my dad taught me, he was an engineer for Metro Railroad in Chicago, and also for Rock Island Railroad. And one of the things that he used to have to do at the railroad was they used to have to take scrap parts from old cars or wrecked cars and things like that, and then they would have to scrap them, and they would use it in making other things, right? So essentially they were upscaling train cars, right? So they would take this, I don't know, the diner car booth and take it out, and they would refurb it and reuse it and refinish it, and then it would become a sitting section in another car. So they were constantly flipping things. And so he taught me at a very young age to sort of see things inside other things. So I sort of have, if you've ever seen a movie where they have that overlay, that sort of user interface that comes up, I have that naturally for things. I can go to a thrift shop and I can look at a dress, and this overlay comes over and picks it apart into a bunch of pieces and shows me what I can make it into. I don't know why that is, but that's how my brain works. So I have that ability. And then my mom, there used to be, or there still is technically, I think it just has a different name now, but on the north side of Chicago in northern Illinois, there's a prestigious gentleman's club called Crazy Rock, and she used to work there as head of wardrobe. And she would come home with, and I don't need to explain what wardrobe is. You hear the word gentleman's club, right? So she would come home with wardrobe pieces that would need to be fixed or repaired. So, bra straps or Velcro on pants or zippers on dresses or snaps or whatever. And so age like 5, 6, 7, I'm sewing sequins onto bras and snaps onto pants and all sorts of things. But I didn't know what I was doing until I got old enough to kind of piece it together. And then I was like, hey, why are we sewing Velcro on underwear? And then my mom decided I should probably see why I was Velcroing or sewing Velcro onto underwear. And I know people are going to think that's weird, but if you're open with your kids and you teach them about their bodies and how bodies work and human anatomy and all of that kind of stuff, then being, you know, a 9-year-old backstage at a burlesque show isn't really that big of a deal. There was nothing to be shy of, nothing to be embarrassed of. Everybody knew everything and there were no issues. But I got to see where all of these things that I was sewing, helping to sew, go. It's like, you do that with your kids, right? It's like this weird, like, child labor. You're like, yeah, kid, go do this. Because you're a kid, you need to learn. But it's not child labor, but it's just weird. Anyway, so yeah, so I got to see it, and it kind of just opened up this world because, I mean, all right, so I'm going to get weird on you here. There was a movie in the early 90s, I think, the early 90s, but it was called Strippers. And is a movie based on a true story, not really documentary, but more movie. And it was about sort of the international, like, strippers competition that happens every year in Vegas, and they would hire these like welders and build huge sets and crazy costumes and all that kind of stuff, right? You know what movie I'm talking about. So it was that type of burlesque, that type of adult entertainment. I'm not talking like centerfolds in Springfield. like you had to pay a membership to be a part of Crazy Rock, so you were getting quality entertainment. You know, there were singers and dancers and all kinds of things. So at that point, I was learning, like, this is how you make a cape. This is how you make gloves. This is how you make a pair of pants into gloves. This is how you take a pair of gloves and a pair of pants and make a whole jumpsuit. Like, because of my mom. So then I had this user interface from my dad, the abilities from my mom, and then I was just able to kind of, in my teens, kind of go through. I could go to a thrift shop and I could pick out 5 or 6 different things, come home with them, and in 2 or 3 days I could have 3 or 4 different outfits or costumes. So it's just like, I had no fear. I was never afraid to mix things that weren't fabric with things that were fabric, or why do I have to glue it when I can sew it, or why should I sew it when I can glue it? Like, I did no fear because there's no rules. And I feel like now what's happening is there's a lot of cosplay rules that have started, because when we were kids, Hawk, you know, like, you'd play cowboys and Indians, and you dress up as a cowboy or you dress up as an Indian. You were cosplaying. Did you know that? Because I sure didn't. I just thought I was being the Indian, or I was being the cop and the robber, or I was being a pirate, or I was being, I don't know, I dressed up as Mr. Miyagi. My mom and I dressed up as Mr. Miyagi and Gizmo one year. I was Mr. Miyagi. She was Gizmo. Of course. And, you know, but I didn't know I was cosplaying. I didn't know that that's what I was doing. And then I went to a comic book convention in Chicago, C3E3, and everybody was dressed up, and I didn't know why, and I was upset that nobody told me that I should have dressed up. And then people were like, oh, well, they're cosplaying. Those are cosplayers. Like, what does that mean? Like, what's a cosplayer, right? And then it kind of exploded and got weird. Cosplay got real weird for a while. I mean, it blew up huge and got weird. And then people started getting their own cosplay fabric line. Like, What? I don't even need to say who, because we all know who. And I mean, I followed her for a while on Instagram, and yeah, she's cute and she does some creative stuff, but I don't think that warrants having your own fabric line at what, Joanne Fabrics? I don't, because cosplay is supposed to be, like I said, there's no rules. Cosplay is whatever you make it. If you want to make your costume out of a bunch of garbage bags and duct tape like they do for Duct Tape Prom, then it's awesome. Good for you. Like, there's people who do that. They make like those Superman costumes all out of duct tape. Like, that's fucking nuts. And I love it. And I wish I had that kind of patience. But that doesn't mean they're not a cosplayer. That doesn't mean they're not a costumer. It doesn't mean, it's sort of an unconventional material, but whatever. And I have a hard time because I am a cosplayer like 45% of the time. The rest of the time, I'm some chick wearing a costume because I made it and I don't have anybody else to give it to. So, because that's what it is. It's you're a costumer or you're a cosplayer. Then you get the models. See, and then this is where I get to go off on my little tangent, because then you get the models who wear costumes that are made by other people, which are costumers. And then the model's like, oh, I'm a cosplayer. No, you're a model wearing a costume. You've never been a cosplayer. You don't even know what that means. So you're pretty, looking pretty, and somebody else's pretty thing. Not that I'm saying models don't have brains. They do. But there's a whole other culture. You have costumers, you have cosplayers, you have people who wear costumes, and they get paid. And then you have the people who want to do all of the things and don't. So, so that's kind of where you are. And I'm definitely the first two. I'm a costumer and a cosplayer. I'm not the pretty person who just gets paid to wear a costume, because if that's the case, I wouldn't be sitting here in my time traveling vehicle right now.
Speaking of time travel and these fucking movies, that's a good segue for me, because time travel is one of my least favorite things about movies. But
because they don't do it right, ever.
I'm just
do it right.
I'm actually over the time travel thing. It's like
there's rules.
Solution.
Have you not? Like, these people, I'm telling you, not one of these people has watched the Back to the Future movie. Back to the Future specifically states there are rules. You follow the rules. You stay in your lane.
If you remember the TV show Eureka, they quantified those rules, that by not following those rules, destruction, which we've seen a lot. But your movie nerddom goes way back. So what's your earliest? And I want to stay specific to nerd movie, just because.
Nerd movie.
Because I know, well, nerd or horror in your case. What's your earliest remembrance of this movie changed my life? I'm now a nerd type of moment when it comes to movies.
Oh. My mom took me to the theater to see Labyrinth.
Nice.
And Labyrinth is all of the things.
Yes,
and people can piss on Labyrinth all they want. Labyrinth is all of the things. Okay? It's a horror movie. It's a comedy. It's a romance. There's even action sequences in there. So there's those four. It's a musical.
Yeah.
It's a musical. It has live puppetry. It has creature creation. It has some of the best movie magic to this day. I'm not talking like Avatar CGI shit. I'm talking like legit movie magic. Some of the best movie magic to this day. In fact, some of the movie magic that they used in Labyrinth was what inspired the movie magic that was used in Underworld, because Underworld, everything everything that you see in the Underworld movie and series, like the series Underworld, is all movie magic. They use very little CG, very little, and they did that on purpose because it makes their movies better. Anyway, back to the so yes, some of the best movie magic to this day, and combined not only like in art and science, but brings in pop culture, because David Bowie was hot at the time, and I don't mean like every woman oogled over him. I mean like David Bowie in the 80s was the guy. So you had David Bowie. Not only did he write the music and perform the music, he did it in the movie and his own soundtrack and a Labyrinth album. So there was the soundtrack, there was the score, and then there was a Labyrinth album. Like, the only thing remotely close to that in any way would have been like The Who's Tommy. The only thing Tommy didn't have was the puppetry, but they had everything else. And so I think inevitably me seeing Labyrinth took my love, what was going to become my love of movies, what was going to become a love for Brian Froud, a love for Jim Henson, a love for David Bowie, a love for music in general, a love for costuming, and a love for, I mean, so many other things came from the Labyrinth. Like, my love of comic books came from the Labyrinth. My love of graphic novels, even though they weren't called that at the time, they were just called illustrated books. Graphic novels came from that. All sorts of things came from the Labyrinth. So I would definitely say that that was the seed that grew the tree of Toni.
So, cosplay more from movies or from comics or from gaming?
So I have a pretty good split as far as what I've got lined up in my closet. So I have, this is the closet, right? So this is what we're looking at. This is the closet. I probably have got this many movies, this many games, this many books, and then like this many miscellaneous. Like, for example, I have Professor Trelawney from Harry Potter. I have Bellatrix Lestrange from Harry Potter. Then I have Sloane Peterson from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Really?
I do. It's one of my favorite costumes. Then I have Cheetah from Disney movies Atlantis. I also have Glitch from Wreck-It Ralph. Then, and this is just movies. So then I also have Anya, the Dragon Rider from Aragon, which also goes into book cosplay over here. And so, like, I have Tia Delma from Pirates of the Caribbean, which goes into comic book cosplay over here. And then I have Dark Doll, and she is actually a toy that became a comic. So, so my cosplays kind of overlap each other. But yeah, and that's just what I named. I mean, I have a whole section of steampunk. I have a whole section of costumes that I made that I was just like, hey, this would be a cool idea if I took this old piece of couch and this old piece of picnic table and and I glued them together, and then it becomes this weird like fairy costume, and people are like, wow, where did you get that fabric from? I'm like, well, actually it's a lounge chair.
So you reminded me of something, and your segues with you are next to impossible, so I just have to force them in, so just go with it.
Yeah,
I remember, I just did a little show we did on video games and gaming. What is your earliest remembrance of being lost in a video game? If I remember correctly,
lost? I don't know about being lost. I've played games recently where I've gotten myself into places and then like couldn't figure out how to get out.
Right.
Like I've gotten myself legitimately like geometry stuck. But like as a kid, weird. I don't know. Maybe like I was pretty good at video games when I was a kid.
And by lost, hold on, let me clarify what I meant by lost, because you were taking it almost as literally as I didn't want you to. When was that time where you sat down on a Friday and then stood back up again on a Monday?
Okay, so on the NES, there was this game called Rainbow Island. And the main character was named Buddy, and you could shoot rainbows out of your belly. I am sober, I swear to God. Like, but no, I'm serious. Like, you people watching this right now, and I mean all of you people watching this right now, you get on Google and you type in Rainbow Island Buddy, NES, and it will come up. And it was a platformer game. But instead of going this way side scroll, it was an up and down, so you had to jump up because the levels would fill with water or smoke or whatever, right? Yeah. And so, but the levels that you would jump to sometimes were too far apart or they were too high, so you would have to shoot a rainbow out of your stomach and then jump on it. And then I think it was like level 8. And then you got the double rainbow out of your belly, so you were shooting like Rainbow Nessie from. But so yeah, and then it had these end bosses, right? And they were like weird things. And there were 2 that I remember. There was a giant spider, of course. I don't remember what his name was, but screw that giant spider. And then there was Choppy the helicopter, right? Google, for real, Google this. Choppy the helicopter. Choppy the helicopter looks like some little Thomas the Tank Engine Little Tykes toy. And you had to shoot him. Like, the spider was different because you could just jump on him. The thing that made the spider hard was you had to shoot a rainbow and then jump the rainbows to jump on the spider. Choppy the helicopter, you had to shoot your belly rainbows at him. But in order to do that, you had to get under the blades, which I guess is why it was called Choppy. So you had to get under the blades and then shoot him with your belly rainbows. And what sucked about that game is that every time Choppy killed you, you went back to level 1. So you would have to play level 1 through level 12 all over again. Me and my friend, I won't say her full name because I know she's not watching this and I don't want people to get on Facebook and start stalking her about Buddy's Rainbow Island. But me and my really good friend at the time was named Beth, and she came and spent the night at my house, and we had the TV with the NES in the basement in Chicago. And we sat up. She spent the night Friday, Saturday night, right? Friday night, all day Saturday, all night Saturday, Sunday morning, Beth threw the controller in the air and went, I did it!
I was about to ask you about your least favorite boss, but I guess Choppy's your least favorite boss.
It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and she killed Choppy. after like a good solid day and a half, she killed Choppy. I didn't do it. I will never. Nobody can ever say I ever took blame for that. I did not. It was all Beth. She did it. She annihilated Choppy, and she was the reason why I was able to go on and beat the game.
Knowing what I know about you, how do you contain this energy enough to sit down and play a tabletop game like D&D? I'm mystified.
Okay, so right now I'm actually running a game, which is something I never thought I would do. As somebody who's played a lot of games, sometimes they were a week long, the campaign was a week long, sometimes they were a one-off, sometimes they were 6 years long, right? I did play one game for 6 years. It's hard because I guess as somebody who likes, I'm an enabler, mostly to myself, but I'm an enabler. And so I like to be able to manifest and create and then give, right? Create and then give, create and then give. So as a player, it's really hard because I want to make and make and make and put it in the world and put it in the world, and I can't. And so I was like, I'm going to GM a game. So I DM'd a game, and I loved it, and it was great. And then I flew to Texas, and over the course of a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we managed to build 8 characters, play the campaign, and finish it, and fly me back home.
Nice.
But now, currently, because of COVID, me and a bunch of people who got a group together, we're now playing through Roll20, which is awesome. If anybody has questions about Roll20, I'm more than happy to entertain. It is not necessarily, I was not the person who put it together for Kickstarter and all that, and I'm not one who runs Roll20, but Roll20 looks like it's very hard to use, but if you just use a little creativity, it's pretty awesome, and you can use it for anything. I'm currently using Roll20 to put together a spreadsheet for one of the classes I'm taking. But, so, Roll20, though, so we play on Roll20. I have a Discord channel, and so we do everything through the Discord channel in Roll20. It's wonderful. But that's, I can, as the GM, it's real easy for me to go, okay, we need this now and do. So what I kind of do for that is I make a list, and I go, okay, this is what the characters want to do. This is what I need them to do in the story. Let's see what they roll, and they'll either go this way or this way. And if they go this way, then I kind of make it up as we go along. And if we go this way, then I kind of follow the timeline. As a player, though, it's stressful. And sometimes my characters end up making weird decisions and rash decisions or non-helpful decisions. And it's just because part of the thing is that, like, I have a tendency to do what I call, like, a brain crash. So if you've ever, like, had your computer and then you open a window and you open a window and you have 100 windows open and then your computer crashes, that's what my brain does. And so we'll be in the middle of a game, and I internally have this thing going on. And then the GM goes, okay, now you have this thing going on. And then the player across from me goes, oh, but Tony's character, let's do this. And then this window opens, and then all these windows open. And then I'm like, well, how about we all just go live in a tree and make spaghetti? And everybody's like, what the hell's wrong with you? It's like, because there's too many windows open and I can't. But no, I really enjoy tabletop gaming. I'm not one of those. I'm not a min-maxer because I don't care about that. If I break the game, it's because I have figured out a way to bend and break the things that are not necessarily bend and breakable. Because I don't care about having the best stats. I don't care about being able to one-hit kill things. I want to be able to take the map at the library and read all of the languages that's in the cipher, then decipher it, then magically pull the ship out of my pocket that's going to take us there. Like, I'm that character. I'm the Indiana Jones on steroids character.
Ow, make my head hurt sometimes. God, I have missed you. So I've slow walked us to the end of this, and I don't want to. I know there's so much to you, but there's some stuff I don't want to leave out. I also happen to know you're a huge comic book nerd. even still to this day.
I am.
Despite COVID and everything else. And I know for a fact you're a big DC fan, but you've recently become a Marvel fan as well.
A little bit.
So I'm going to give you a chance to cheer for your favorite underrated character on one on DC and then one random.
Okay. So, right. So my random one, I guess, would be there's this little girl. It's actually a manga, and I know that that's not a comic, but it's a comic. It really is. Graphic novels are comics. Mangas are comics. It's a different name. This is a shirt. If it has longer sleeves, guess what? It's still a shirt. So anyway, it's a manga. Her name is Cucochan, and she's alone in this world. She's a lonely little girl. She asks the sky to give her a friend, and it brings down this little robot. Sorry, and the robot's name is Cucochan. The little girl's not Cucochan. My bad. Anyway, Cucochan did like 9 books, 9 or 10 books. Whoa, it's been a minute. Maybe 10 books. And then I have not seen or heard of Cucochan since then. But what is cool about Cucochan is that after he left, because he's kind of like Mary Poppins, like, except he's not a nanny. But this little girl wanted a friend and to have, you know, somebody to love her. Cucochan comes, loves her, makes her life better. All these things become great. And all of this wonderfulness happens. And then he goes, okay, you're better now. And then he leaves to go do the same thing for somebody else. Like, this is very selfless, loving robot thing, angel, alien thing that presents itself to those in need. Like, that's wonderful. Like, everybody should have a Cucochan. And I feel like that, I don't know, that's sort of a cool AI technology. Like, so between the technology and the humanity of it, I feel like that's a very underrated thing. There should be maybe not more Cucochan, because maybe Cucochan is now past its time, but maybe there should be more like Cucochan in memory of Cucochan-esque. And then, so, what is this? This is 2020. So, 93 years ago, 2020 plus 93, 93 years ago? 100 minus 16 is 84. I can do math. 84 years ago, there was a comic book hero named the Treble Claw. And he was a detective and a music lover, and he would solve his crimes using music. He also could, like, throw music notes, kind of like Gambit. Maybe that's where the superhero part comes in. He could, like, pull music from the sky and throw it at people. But aside from that, he would use music to solve his crimes and murders and things like that. So essentially, like, he would play music and then, like, use, like, based off of their reaction. So kind of like how people now do music therapy, like, you could play certain songs, and it's usually done with kids or people with Alzheimer's and things like that. They'll react a certain way to the music being played. And this is a very similar thing, but this was like I said, I think it was 1936 or 1937. And they would, like, it was kind of Batman-y, but without all the gadgets. And So boo, 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 music notes, and then boom, I got the bad guy, and then boom, I play this song, and then bad guy's like, oh my God, this song reminds me of this thing, and I murdered the lady and robbed the bank, and then boom, bad guy's in jail. So very underrated superhero there. Also very old superhero. Yes, and you can Google that as well. You can Google the Treble Claw, and you can read all about him. He's on Wikipedia, and pretty cool dude, actually. Can't remember his real life name. Well, not his real life, his civilian name. I'm sorry. And then the ultimate underrated, the penultimate underrated is the Dazzler. And it's not because she roller skates, and it's not because she looks better in a pantsuit than anybody else, and it's not because she's got this badass disco ball necklace that works like a tractor beam, and it's not because she has really cool hair, and it's not because she has the demon Gene Simmons kiss makeup, and it's not because of any of that. It's because she can shoot beams of light from her hand without a glove, without a power suit, without some manifestation of anger or whatever. She just shoots beams of light from her hand. Yeah, you don't even need the other things. You don't need the cool kiss makeup and the roller skates and the tractor beam necklace and your badass bell-bottom pantsuit makes you look like Cher with blonde hair. Like, none of that matters. You shoot beams of light from your hands.
I'm watching another episode of Meet the Fanatics with my friend Toni. You know, she's actually one of my favorite Fanatics. We love having her around. There's always going to be excitement when Toni is in the room.
You need to keep me around. I need to be around a lot more.
I promise.
My hiatus has been for too long.
We're going to try to talk her into running a game at some point in the near future. That could be really fun.
Yes.
This has been another great episode of Meet the Fanatics. This is Toni, and I'm Hawk. This is Fanatic. And the fans.
And the fans.